Welcome, friends and family. This is Son of a Mother So, episode number 3, where it's my mom and I talking news, life, books, movies, all the above, and nothing is off limits. Mom, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so Born in the USA. This is your song this week, Mom. Can you explain a little bit about it?
Right. Well, I picked this song just based on our book of the week, which was Killing Reagan, because I thought it was really interesting. I do kind of remember this. Of course, reading the book, I did live most of it. But right. During the 1984 election, they were trying to figure out a way to make Reagan look more hip and young and in touch, because that was his, main criticism. And so they started, old. Yeah, because he was 73, 74 for the 1984 election. And so they started playing Born in the USA. And then they were, his handlers were like, yeah, Reagan really loves Bruce Springsteen, and of course, Bruce Springsteen is like the most liberal Democrat ever. And he was like, stop playing my song. Stop playing my song. Wow. So they took it down eventually. I think they only did it for a little bit, but I thought it was an interesting part of the story,
That's crazy, yeah. It's amazing after reading the book how much, whether you were Democrat or Republican, mattered. Like, even when, like in the book, when he had said when he got shot and he's going into the OR, and he's like, oh, I hope the doctor is a Republican. And the doctor looked at him like, really? Like, we're all Republicans. And like that was such a huge thing today. To them. Even after Kennedy got shot, right, and he died, they had a dinner party that night. I was like, wow. Like the Reagans had a dinner party that night after Kennedy got shot and died. And Nancy was like, why am I going to cancel my dinner plans? Like, holy. And they called her like the Ice Queen or something like that because she was ruthless. She pretty much had the whole hand in developing his career. Took him from the middle of the road actor into politics, and she loved that life.
Yeah, she really did. And, I think that what I found really interesting was I had looked at them as like this huge love story. Okay. Yeah. And I was watching Bill O'Reilly this morning because I decided to, watch some of what he had to say. Because the thing that I found the most interesting was like, I thought I was going to read a fluff piece about Reagan. Like, Bill O'Reilly's, how much do I love Reagan? So as I'm listening to it and reading it, I was like, oh, okay, so this is not. I mean, this showed some sides of Reagan that, the public did not know about. Yeah. And I think that until he got shot, I think he started understanding what Nancy did for him. Yeah. I really do. I think before that, I didn't see, how about the story about how he proposed to her? And, it was like, really he was just like, okay, fine, she's here. I'll marry her. She got pregnant. I didn't know any of that. So I found that really interesting about the book. The
mistresses. Bill O'Reilly is really one to point out whether the man in the story is faithful to his wife, because in the Killing Kennedy book, man, did he spent most of the book talking about how Kennedy had to have these women and how the Secret Service were so upset when Mrs. Kennedy would be in the White House for long periods of time. Like, they wanted her to go away so they could bring in all these girls to make freaking John Kennedy happy. Like, it's just wild how. But then he wasn't afraid to say the same thing about Reagan. Like, there were little bits and parts in here. But do you think that, like, in that culture, do you think that that was something that was looked upon, like, known, just not accepted, like in that time?
I think at one part in the book that she did actually say she accepted it. I mean, when they were dating, he was dating other women, and she didn't really care. She was like, I'm going to marry him. I don't care, Yeah. And after he got shot, I mean, he was saying that after he got shot, there was no way anyone was getting to him without going through her.
Right.
Like, she kept his schedule. Yeah. She decided who he saw, who he didn't see. Yeah. She protected him. And, of course, I do remember, bad things being said at that time.
Do you think, like, in the culture of that, like, so you had Killing Kennedy and you had Killing Reagan, which kind of overlap each other. But in both instances, you had these men that were not 100% faithful, but their wives were like, they knew about it. So do you think that's like a social norm that's changed today? Or do you think that was just those two situations, because you can't help to think by reading his books that like, holy crap, like every freaking man was cheating on their wives back then. And then it was just something that happened. Like you would think, like you watch all those shows like Game of Thrones, and that was like the woman, the queen would know that the men had mistresses, and that whole aspect of those stories are really interesting to me, how like women could be married to these men and just understand that cheating is happening. But
well, I mean, I have a story for you that I don't even know that you knew about, but my dad always had girlfriends.
Yeah.
Okay. And my mom knew it. Okay.
That's what I'm saying, like a social norm.
But here's the thing: when he was dying, they were taking him down to Florida to see if he could get better. Go to a different hospital. And she told me that the one girlfriend she knew, and she took my dad over to say goodbye to her.
Wow.
Okay. So it's like,
wow.
Is that love? Like that?
I don't know. I don't know what that is. I mean, we're so socially programmed nowadays to be like you can't even comprehend having a different, multiple partners. But if you look back to our ancestry and our primal nature, it is to be multiple partners, not necessarily the female, but the man is so programmed to be able to spread the seed, to survive, live, provide for the family, and duplicate, or procreate or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I think that we're kind of going away from that, but because of the social programming, we can't understand that. But that was and it's changing, because you can even see, but 100 years ago, that was like something that was almost like sought after. Like that was something that was normal for men.
Well, could Kennedy get elected today?
I don't know.
Could Reagan get elected today?
Based on Kennedy's actions, I think that they would be like, you would have girls that would come out and say, yeah, I slept with him. I slept with him. Like, like the freaking.
You'd have all kinds of stories. Are you kidding me?
Like Bill Cosby, his whole thing.
Yes.
He's like, whoa, I thought we were having a good time. Now you guys are saying I raped you.
I know. Like, I think there would be women out there and they'd be getting paid and they'd be all over the internet. I mean, I think that nowadays they can't afford that. Yeah. There's no way. Yeah, there's no way. So I think that Reagan would, and things they'd done in their past would be all over. Oh yeah. Like
every little thing they said in their past, every little detail, every little aspect. Right. Obama was even saying that about, Hillary, when they were asking about her email situation that she's got going on. They asked him his opinion, and he was saying, like, it's election year. Of course, every little scrutiny is going to be brought to light. It's not that big of a deal. Would she have done something different if she could go back? Yes. But is it that big of a deal? But no, the media needs a freaking story, and they'll post whatever. Breaking news, Hillary's email scandal, and everyone's like, oh, she's corrupt. But really, it's like, come on now. Really, are we going to go into that much detail? Is she giving freaking communist nuclear codes? Or
right. Well, and that's the thing, and then you think of the reverse, like say it would have been Nancy, right? Like say Nancy was out there and had boyfriends, like would Ronnie have been like, that's like the social like culture of that, because the woman is not allowed to do that. And that even goes back to the primal nature, like the king and queens, like the queen can't do that, but the king, he's known to do that. And I think it has something, I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about this female who was a lesbian, right? And she became a man. So she was always attracted to women, but when she was a woman, she would only look at like things that she's attracted to, like in their personality and, their traits and all that stuff. And it wasn't until when she turned to a man that she started to get these testosterone injections, and she's like, oh, this is why men are so messed up. Like, because she could only think about like boobs, vagina, like all this stuff is going in her head. Like, oh my god, oh, that's why they're so messed up, because it's this hormone that we releases in our body a day. It's like, I need to have sex. Right. And it's a wild thing to think about, because the woman, you are not allowed to, but a man can separate so emotionally from that physical contact with a woman that it just could be like, I didn't have any feelings for her. But women can't understand that. But a man's like, yeah, whatever. A man can cheat, but women, no, that's ours. Right. It's like the primal nature. No, that's ours. Well, and that's exactly right. And, imagine that, she got to, all she cared about was him. Like, that's it. She just cared about like what he was doing all the time. You know, that was her. She didn't do anything for herself, really. I mean, she had that, you know, as a first lady, I remember her war on drugs, you know, kind of a thing. But really everything was about him. Everything was like, what is he going to do? You know? Do you
think that was her role?
I do.
As the first lady?
Yeah. I think she took that role different than other first ladies.
Yeah. As compared to Kennedy. She was more self-absorbed. Like if you read that book, she was very self-absorbed.
She had her own life going. I don't know that Nancy had other life going that much. You know, I think she was really just consumed with his life. You know,
I agree. You didn't read that book, did you? Killing Kennedy.
I didn't, but you know what? Now that I've done this one, because I have to say, the Bill O'Reilly thing. You know, you love him, you hate him. And when I was watching his interviews this morning, the thing that I do respect about him is he's so smart. Yeah. Okay. Like he was doing it. I watched an interview with Katie Couric with him, and man, he was, you know, he had her for lunch. He just did. Yeah. Like, well, you know, she's this great interviewer, but he's a great interviewer, you know, and he's just like right back at her, you know? And I'm like, you know what? You don't want to battle or history with that man. You just don't.
I love how he starts off like chapters. He's like, you know, say the date and time. He said, the man who has just 10 minutes to live. When I was listening to like the Killing Kennedy or even the Killing Lincoln book as well, I read all of them. And it's like, wow, like, what is he thinking? He's got 10 minutes to live. And it like creates the suspense. And that whole scene in Killing Reagan, as he's getting shot and everything that Hinckley's going through in his mind and whether he should do it or whether he shouldn't. And basically the only reason he did is because he got pissed off at the reporters getting in his way because he was captivated by Reagan's appearance. And he said when the first time he saw Reagan, he was about to shoot him, Reagan waved at him and he like was starstruck like and waved back.
I know.
You know, like there he is. And then after he walked in, he's like, holy shit, I don't want to do this. But then he was trying to get close to Reagan when he came out of the hotel, that he was getting pissed off and he's like, you know, screw this. And he shot off 6 rounds in like less than 2 seconds, you know, and you don't realize how devastating that was, just those 6 shots.
And were you shocked at the end when they told you that he's basically a free man now?
He's basically a free man. Okay. Yeah, and I think that every president should be a little concerned about where he is because it wasn't about Reagan. You know, it was just about somebody. Like somebody had to die to show
where he was going to kill himself, what he was for that girl.
Right. So for Jodie Foster. So, you know, I just think that it's like, mental. Yeah. Right. I mean, the guy was definitely not right. But do I think he should be walking around, you know, like free, you know, and I don't know how free. I'm sure he's not like free, but it is.
I'm sure they got an eye on him. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
How long can you keep a guy in jail for not killing someone? You know,
I guess.
But he did kill someone, actually. He did kill someone. He killed one of the guards, right?
Right. Yeah.
That wasn't supposed to be there. Shot him in. Or did he live? He lived. No, the guy that got shot in the forehead.
No, they all lived.
Yeah, the guy that got shortened. The media said he died. That's what it was.
They said Brady died, but he didn't. He lived.
Yeah. And that's what saved his life because he wasn't supposed to be there. Remember, he wasn't supposed to be there, and he's only in charge of the dogs, so he didn't have the correct training. And all that
wasn't Brady, but that was the policeman.
The policeman. You're right.
Yeah.
So that's wild. I mean, the whole story is, but like we were saying, Bill O'Reilly, he presents the facts really nicely. The story just flows. I mean, whether you like him or hate him, I didn't have any bias toward him because I didn't know. Like, I never watched him little. I know you know him a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
His opinions and all that stuff, but I didn't have that to base anything off of. So when I just read the book, I was like, when I first read Killing Lincoln, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
I don't know if he does it in the other books, but what I found amazing is like, okay, at this point in time, he ties in everybody. It's like, okay, so, you know, this is what Reagan's doing. This is what Hillary and Bill are doing. This is where Hinckley is. And you're like, oh, wow. So he, you know, like he ties everybody that you know what's going on at that period of time. How about Nixon? I mean, the stuff he had about Nixon was crazy. So I was like, and he said, unless he has 2 references, like in person, it doesn't go in the book.
Yeah, all the vantage points are covered. He does the same thing in all the other books. It's really, really, really good.
Really well researched.
Very well crafted.
And he said that Michael Reagan, his oldest son from Jane Wyman,
Yeah.
wrote to him and said, why didn't you contact me?
Yeah.
And he said, because he wasn't there.
Wow.
He's like, it's all hearsay with him.
Yeah, it wasn't your primary source.
Yeah, he was like, he was like, well, I could have told you more. He's like, yeah, but you were hearsay because he wasn't involved.
He'd rather
with
talk to the bystander that was at the shooting or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? That kind of type thing.
Right.
So,
He doesn't want Michael Reagan's opinion about his
Yeah,
parents.
exactly.
It was just facts.
Yeah. Well, great book. I would say definitely go
Great
buy
book.
that book.
Here, I have the book.
There it is. Bang. Awesome.
There it is.
There you go. We can get Bill O'Reilly to sign that. That'd be awesome. And,
That's right.
if you're
Great,
listening
Bill.
to this, thank you very much. Now, next
Yes.
movie. What the movie that you saw this week was?
The Walk.
Bang. We talked about it last time.
Okay.
And we were talking about your fear of heights. So let's hear it.
Okay, so I watched our video from last week just to see what I said about it, and I remember saying to you, "Well, at least I only have to watch him walk across once."
Wrong.
Oh no!
Oh,
Oh
no.
no! Oh no! Oh no! Because he gets to the other side, and he sees cops. So what does he do? He
goes
turns
back.
around, and he goes
Wow.
back. No. But guess how many times he does it?
3.
6.
Wow. 6
Okay.
times.
I was freaking out, to say the least. And I looked around the movie theater to see if anybody else was freaking out quite as much as I was. Like, get off. Okay, so I should have done some research. In the middle of the movie, I decided that, oh my God, I don't know if the guy lived. Like, I don't know if he's still alive.
You can't deal with that.
No, and I'm like, Ian, Google this, Google him. And Ian's like, I am never coming to the movies again with you. You are so embarrassing. And then every time, and so when he takes that first step, I was just crawling out of my skin. I mean, the movie was so well done. And of course, I watched the YouTube videos on, the making of the movie.
Yeah.
So some fun facts. I mean, he trained with the guy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Okay, starred in it. And of course, we love him. I mean, he's amazing. Great actor. So he trained with Philippe and 8 days. And in 8 days, the guy had him walking on a wire.
Wow.
But irregardless, the wire was 12 feet off the ground, surrounded by green screen.
Yeah.
So he did have a double.
Yeah, for sure.
He couldn't do that. I mean, he did a lot, but he couldn't walk 12 feet off the ground, in 8 days. He couldn't do it. But
wow,
I mean,
it was only 12 feet. He only did 12 feet. Why did they make it? I don't know. I guess I don't understand filming. Like, why not just put it 6 inches off the ground if it's green screen?
I don't know. I guess you got to get a certain amount of height
I guess,
from it.
whatever.
Who knows?
Doesn't matter.
Robert Zemeckis, an amazing director.
Yeah.
And I watched some background of the movie, where they show videos of them making it. And he was just crazy. He's very crazy. But the original walk was in 1974. It was while the World Trade Towers, which I didn't remember at all, but it was while they were being built, because once they were built, he was never going to get up there.
Oh yeah.
So he decided 6 years while it's being built, he's planning, how can I get up there to walk across that?
Right.
So they have to, and how they get the rope across is with a bow and arrow.
Wow. How far in between the buildings is it? Because I don't think people understand how, I don't remember.
I don't know, but it's not close.
It's not close. Like more than more than 100 feet.
Yeah, it's not close enough from those two corners that he had it, know. But I mean, it was just the way they directed it. Like when he took that first step, all you see is clouds. And it was him overlooking. And he said on one of the interviews that he did that he hired people to figure out what was going to give the audience vertigo.
The towers, or
I have no idea, but I know it worked.
Yikes.
Because I could hardly, you're thinking about fear of height. Like, okay, whatever. He's walking across. He's going to live. We all know that. But to watch him take I was like, I couldn't. It was like being on a ride.
Yeah.
It was being like I couldn't do it. Like I kept hiding my face, and then Ian was like, "You're gonna miss this." I'm like, "Okay, all right,
okay,
I got this.
Calm down.
Okay.
Calm down." Yeah.
Okay, he does survive. You can do this. Yeah. And then he lays down on the rope.
Why?
He kneels on the rope.
Oh, just as like a annex or whatever like that. Like look at.
And I'm like, no, just go to the other side. Just get.
But
off.
isn't cheating that he has that huge pole that he carries? Like, isn't that just
I don't think
spreading
it's
out.
cheating. I think they all do that. I don't know that they walk without a pole.
But I mean, the pole just keeps him balanced. I mean, it spreads out his gravity, like.
But I
his
don't
center
think
of
that.
gravity.
I don't think I've ever seen. Have you ever seen a high wire act without the pole?
No, I mean, I've never seen him do it without a safety net either. So.
Yeah, well, he said that the guy who trained him, the guy who trained Philippe, begged him to put a wire on, and he was like, "Everyone will know."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "It's not art then because I'm lying," so he wouldn't do it. It was just like it's
But you think about it, okay? So say he loses his balance. The first thing that goes is the pole. Okay, you say, "Screw this, it's over. I'm past the point of recovery." Throw the pole, bend down, grab on a wire.
He did that. And he did that when he fell. Like he fell, when he was training in the movie, in the beginning of the movie. So that's what he would do.
Throw the pole, bend down, grab on the wire.
On the wire, right.
So,
but
still, I mean, you're holy shit.
I don't care. There is no way that and I watched interviews of that man, and you're like, I don't understand. Yeah. I mean, he calls it art, and you're like, okay, art, whatever, like, okay.
No way.
But he can do it. He does it, ever. Like,
wow. So great movie.
It was worth the money because it was a ride. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's great. And, I love him.
Would you give it 5 stars?
Oh, I would give it 5 stars he said that it took him 10 years to get the movie made. And he was like, the best thing about it was that as those 10 years were going, what was happening in the movie industry? It only got better for him.
He was like, yes, this is perfect. Oh,
so when it got made, he was like, it was supposed to happen because he had the 3D, he had the IMAX, he had everything. Technology was on his side. And I'm just wondering, when I was watching it, I'm like, will they ever, like, where do you go back from this? Mm-mm. How do you go back? Because you're going to now be used to being entertained like that. And you go see a regular movie that's not IMAX and not 3D, you're almost bored.
Eventually, it's going to be like the virtual reality. You'll walk in there, right?
Right.
And what will happen is you'll put this freaking headset on, and it'll be 3D, and you can turn around. You can walk to different places. You can, like, you'll see, it's all 3D around you, right? So they even have it on YouTube right now, 360 cameras, where if I'm holding my phone, like say I'm holding my phone and I'm looking, and it's a 360 camera, I turn my phone this way, I can see the back of the room. From a 360 camera. So you'll go into like this room, right? It won't be like a movie. They won't call it a movie theater. It'll probably just be like the virtual reality room.
Yeah,
you go in there, they give you your headset, right? And you watch the movie. But the beauty about it is like you can be watching something in front of you, but something else is going on behind you. So you have to turn around and look and be like, oh, what's that? But then you can watch the movie multiple times. Oh, I want to watch the movie, but I want to see what was behind me the whole time or see what's going on over there. So they're going to have like, it's just going to be crazy because they're going to have like different stories going on around the whole thing, and you're going to be turning and looking.
You're going to be like participating in the movie.
Yeah, like it's wild. It's gonna get crazier. It is,
and that's what I said. When I walked out of there, I was like, "Where do you go from here?"
Yeah,
in the last 3 weeks, I saw the Everest, and then the Martian, and then this. But this, as far as the movie went.
Yeah.
And I saw Everest in 3D, but this one was beyond 3D. Like to me, I was on that. I always said, when I saw Everest, oh, well, I climbed Mount Everest. No, I like walked across, like I went with him like on his back. Like
that's so cool.
So anyway.
All right. Going into books that I'm reading. One
thing I wanted to tell you quick.
Yeah. What's up?
Okay. I think that we should kind of share what book we're going to do next week.
Okay.
Just in case anybody wants to, kind of read along with us.
Okay.
Since we already know, we're doing Boys in the Boat.
Oh yeah, I already read that.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm reading. So we're going to talk about it next week.
It'd be good that you I haven't read it in a while, so you'll be able to like refresh all my.
Well, I just thought I'd give you a week off. You got school.
I know I was crunching on Killing Reagan. I was like, oh, I'm outside, like walk, because I can't listen to it or read it in the house with 2 little girls running around screaming, and my wife being like, what are you doing? And Nikita's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I gotta read this book. Like, no, no. Like
I know. So I was like, you know what? I think Kyle could use a week, and it's still in the top 10. And I think it's still in the top 5.
That's still.
for nonfiction. So
it was actually recommended to me by someone on my website, and I was like, what kind of books do you guys, like a true story book type thing? And it kind of, after reading that book, your whole mindset of work capacity is completely changed and what you can accomplish, and like, are you truly dedicated to something? It's a great book. So yeah, read along.
Okay, so that's going to be next week.
Yeah, read along with us next week.
And I was thinking the following week we'll probably do fiction. So if anybody has any suggestions on what fiction book we should be reading,
that'd be cool.
Just comment because we've got time. But yeah, so
looking forward to another fiction book. It's been a minute.
Exactly.
So
exactly. I like going back and forth. So your book. Going
into my book. So what I like to do, I like to read a lot of self-help books, or like I like to call them self-strength books. So a lot of people have this idea paradigm thinking about self-help books are for people that have problems, and I don't need a self-help book. I'm okay. But my whole relation to it is I don't go to the gym because I'm weak. I go to the gym to get stronger, right? So I read these books to increase my mental ability or my emotional stability, I guess you can say. So this one I had, Self-Help for Your Nerves, and it's by Dr. Claire Weeks, who's a 19th or 20th century, early 20th century psychologist, and she goes through this book and it's all about like controlling your emotions, controlling your nerves, anxieties, fears, all this stuff, because we all have them, right? And if you're not taking a progressive action toward increasing your ability to handle those nerves, to handle the anxieties, then you're really setting yourself up for failure. So this book was amazing. It brought into light so many situations that you encounter throughout your life, throughout your day, that normally might bring on an anxiety, and it's all broken down by like, okay, you're afraid to go on road trips, or you're afraid of flying, you're afraid of death, you're afraid of this and that, and how to not just turn to, like we've talked about in the past, just turn to antidepressant pill or anti-anxiety pill, and how to deal with it. We talk about, or I was talking to Kara yesterday, because she just got in a pretty bad accident, so she's still struggling with getting over that fear of driving, because it can be right. the PTSD from that, the post-traumatic stress syndrome from car accident is very scary, and she just got a car, and people are telling her she needed an SUV, and she's all freaked out about it. But I was like, listen, the best way past something that is a fear for you or is an anxiety for you is through it, right? You have to meet it head on. It's the hardest thing in the world, right? But it's showing up at its freaking doorstep and being like, here, hello, I'm here to work on my fear. And the fear just slap you right in the face, and you're scared. You want to turn and run, like, no, I can't deal with this right now. Can't deal with this. Right. Give me a pill. I can't deal with this, But what she talks about in this book is how to face that fear through these different steps, and like showing up at fear's doorstep and being like, inviting yourself in, sitting down and be like, okay, I'm okay right here, type thing. And you're able to deal with the nerves, the anxieties, the fears that you normally would turn and run from. So you're that much stronger, like we talk about in the future, when you deal with things, stressful situations, or things that would bring you fear, they're minuscule then, because you've practiced it. You've read books that have increased your ability to deal with that. So this book, Self-Help for Your Nerves, was tough to get a hold of, because I heard about it in a forum that I follow. And it was pretty expensive. It came from Australia.
Oh, wow.
It was really cool.
Do you have it there?
Yeah, hold on.
I want to see the cover.
It's in my bag.
It's interesting. In reading Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic,
yeah,
she calls her fear the most boring part about her. Because she's like, fear always says the same thing. It's actually very just boring. And I was like, I never really thought about fear as boring, but it is. It says the same thing. It never changes. It never changes. It's just boring.
You play the same reels through your head, like the same stories through your head, the same thing. So
you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. Oh, nice.
Essential Help for Your Nerves. Very big book.
Did you read it all?
Yeah. But if you look at it, when it gets broken down, she describes like short stories of different situations she's encountered and how to deal with it. So it's not a book that you're like, it's a story type thing. Like you have to read it from beginning, and you can just skip through. You look through different parts, like, I'd like to learn about this part. I'd like to learn about that part. And you just keep going back and forth until like you've read it all. And It's wild. It's really,
You know, what's funny is that I like how she says nerves because, people don't really say that anymore. But my grandmother, like I remember going over to her house and her being like, oh, my nerves are just so bad today.
Yeah.
Like who says that anymore? Nobody really says that. But
Yeah,
I think that was their way of describing their anxiety. We say anxiety, like I'm just having anxiety. They're like, I'm having a bad, I need my nerve pills. They'd say that. I need my nerve pills, so.
Yeah. And then that's crazy. Like, they had those back then. Your grandma, I mean, what were they? Type thing, because now you have like oxy. I don't even know which ones they prescribe.
I mean, I think Valium. Whenever Valium came into play, I think that was a lithium, big nerve pill.
Lithium's huge, right? Isn't lithium? Don't they use that for nerves? Or that's
I
more
think
of like
lithium is intense. That's like
depression type.
That's
thing.
bipolar kind of. Lithium's like you have to be intense bipolar.
Yeah,
I think. But, I don't know what she took because God only knows what they were giving him back then. But my mom was big on the Valium, got to take a Valium, calm down.
Just calm down.
Just calm down. Got to calm down,
Yeah.
But, in Elizabeth Gilbert, her thing is like, when you say she says more like facing it, whenever she finds something she's afraid of, she writes it a letter. She writes fear a letter, thanking it for showing up. And now that she recognizes it and, she's going to let it go. And that was her way of dealing with all her fear because she's a writer, probably. But I thought, well, you could kind of do that mentally too.
Yeah.
When you recognize fear, you can say, you know what? Oh, thank you. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I think I'll move on now.
It's kind of, it relates to me with coaching because there's so many cues you can say to yourself, but they're all different for which ones are going to work for which people, right?
Right.
So
and which ones are going to work at that time. I mean, I think even in that moment,
Exactly.
When you're having an anxiety attack, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do they always say? Like, think about something else. Think about this. Think about, and you're like, okay, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. That's not, at that moment. But then on other moments, it's like, oh yeah, that works.
Yeah. I know it was a weird fear for me was when I was in the Marine Corps, we'd stand in these formations for a long time, right? You'd just be standing there and they tell you, don't lock your knees out. And when I just got in the Marine Corps, I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm like, why not lock my knees out? What are you talking about? I'm just standing here, right? Right. They'd be like, you'll pass out. I'm like, pass out? I'm not going to pass out from what? Locking my knees? And I see someone standing there and I see someone start wobbling and I'm looking at him and his eyes roll back in his head. I'm like, what? And it just, bam, right on his freaking face. Didn't stop with his arms. He passed out. And I'm like, holy shit, I don't want that to happen to me. Right? So whenever we're standing there, I'm like, okay, don't lock my knees. Don't lock my knees. I'm getting dizzy. I'm getting dizzy. I'm getting dizzy. Type thing. It was such a weird thing for me. It was like, don't get dizzy, go dizzy. But you have to like, I don't know. I hated it. But it was funny because I actually read it in this book like years after. I wish I would have read it back then. Whenever we would stand in formation, I'd be like, just don't pass out. Just don't pass out. I don't want to be. Because, no one helps you because you're in formation, right? You're just laying there on the ground. People are not even looking at you type thing. So it's like until you wake up and you're like, what the hell happened? It's wild seeing that. So, but one of the parts in this book was someone had a fear of passing out. I was like, oh, I used to have a fear of passing out. I don't have to deal with it anymore because I don't have to stand like rigid in a formation for hours. She said she made the person try to pass out. She goes, well, if you're going to pass out,
right.
you don't die from passing out, right? You might
just go ahead.
People have died from passing out, maybe like hitting their head or something like that. She said, what I want you to do, if you feel like you're going to pass out, try to pass out, right? Physically try to make yourself pass out. And like the patient couldn't pass out. You can understand how hard it is to pass out. So a lot of these people's fears of something happening, it's like that thing that Will Smith had said, fear is a lie. You're believing in, what was that movie? It was such a great quote. But he's like believing, things that have not yet happened. You're fearing something that has not yet happened. So that means it is a lie. I don't know. We'll post the link to that.
It must be a common fear, though, because I used to have that passing out fear, while I'd be driving. Yeah. I'd be like, okay, don't pass out, while I'm driving. Like, why was I even thinking about that?
Yeah.
But,
and then I told Nikita that one time. We were at our first wedding, right? And for some reason, during the whole ceremony, they had the whole people standing up, the whole ceremony. And it was hot outside in Savannah, Georgia, right?
Right.
So in the middle of summer, and I lean over to her. I'm like, hey, make sure you don't lock your knees. She's like, what? I said, just don't I don't want you to pass out, so just don't lock your knees. We're standing here for a while. It's hot. And she looked at me the same look that I got first time I thought about that. And I was like, just be careful, you know, it's freaking hot out here. We're in suits and dresses. And all of a sudden this old lady in front of us, bang, passes out. Like peed herself, everything. Because when you pass out like that, it's just, everything just, you're
What is explain to me what that is.
It cuts off blood flow.
When you lock, so you lock your knees.
When you're locking your knees, it restricts blood flow, right? And your blood flow, and then I guess you lose oxygen. So blood flow carries oxygen.
So the blood flow is going to your feet and not your head?
It just stops. Like you're cutting it off.
Right?
So you're cutting off. Yeah, it's blood restriction. I don't know all the science behind it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
I just wondered what that means, you know?
Mean, you just fall flat on your face. And you don't even know it hits you. They say like it's like all of a sudden you start to feel like you're like there's like corners of your eyes start to get black, but that's too late. It's too late.
Oh, that's too late.
you just and
so don't wait for that.
You see people going like this. They do the wobble, and you're like, oh, they're done. They're done. Bang! Right on the. Look it up on YouTube. Passing out at weddings.
I will.
Weddings are huge. Weddings are the funniest ones.
Why?
You know,
because
people don't know.
The people up there?
Yeah,
people up there standing.
People don't understand about locking their knees out, right? So you get all these civilians that have no idea and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go stand at this wedding. They're standing there, they're lighting candles. It's hot in the church, and it's like, you know, they're in that suit, and they're like, oh, it's hot. And you see one of the groomsmen going like this, and you're like, here he goes, and it's just like, bam. Knocked out.
Because you do have to stand there for a
long time, right?
Go to a Catholic wedding.
That's why at my wedding,
for an hour.
at my wedding, I was like, I want it, bam. Say our vows, say the prayer. Let's go. I do, you do. Let's go. We're done. Right? So,
yeah, I like those weddings. I like those in and out weddings.
In and out. Let's go. Zach did the same thing. Zach was like, we sat down. All right, we're done.
Yep. Exactly.
That was like the best ones to be. Right? We're here to enjoy family and company. I don't want to sit here with the ceremony and like.
Like I said, my first Catholic wedding, you know, every time we stood up, I like got my purse, got my jacket.
Yeah, like, no, sit down. Okay. Oh, no, kneel. You got to kneel now. Oh, that's what these things are for.
I was like, oh my God, I was raised, you know, Protestant evangelical. We were in and out before, 10 minutes. Like 40, I'm not an
40
hour.
40 minutes. We're in 40 minutes. What's going on? You know?
Are they married yet?
I remember we used to be at church when I was growing up and be like, it's an hour. Why are we here an hour? And you'd be like, I don't know. We gotta get out of here. What's going on? But then I'd be at a Catholic service. I would go to Catholic service at boot camp because they were the longest.
Oh, you're like, okay,
I'm Catholic. I'm Catholic, so I could be there the longest, and it was funny. But yeah, that book, you know, coming full circle.
Coming full circle.
The book, Essential to Your Nerves, Dr. Clara Weeks, I highly suggest it. It's just going to create a strength for you. It's like using a different lift to make you stronger in a different aspect of your body. So you got to prepare your mind, prepare your emotions, your nerves, and be in control of it. The hardest person to be in control of is you, or the hardest thing to conquer is yourself. So if you're dealing with those inner thoughts, those inner demons, then you can read that book. Read a bunch of books, but that is a great one. So
awesome.
Bang. You got anything else? Where we're at?
Are you reading anything else at the moment?
I dabble. There's books that I'm reading that, you know, I just go back and forth. I have like a mindfulness daily book that goes like by the day, right? So guys, if you want to hear, actually, I go on my emails, right? So go to thecrowjournal.com, thecrojournal.com, and sign up for a newsletter. And each day I send out like a mindfulness thing, like some quote or whatever, and I write a little bit about it. And then I've gotten a lot of emails back talking about people just randomly, which is really cool. Just like, oh, I really needed that today. That's awesome. Thank you so much. So just, you know, that's just another tool. I always tell people I provide the tools. I learn tools that make me, you know, stronger. So I have a tool when I encounter different parts of my life that are hard. I have a tool for it, right? So I like to share tools so you have more tools in your toolbox to deal with life. So go to crowjournal.com, sign up for that newsletter, and also announce whenever we're getting new podcasts for the Son of the Mother show come out. I can announce those as well. Make sure you're leaving us a review on iTunes. Click on the link for iTunes. Leave us a review. Let us know you want to, you know, hear. And then subscribe to the YouTube channel where you could see our pretty faces talking.
That's right.
And
Facebook page will be coming out. We're working on it.
Facebook, Twitter. We're going to do it all up. So we've been getting a lot of great feedback from you. Third episode in. Next week we're doing, the book is The Boys on the Boat. What movies are you seeing this week, Annie?
I saw Frida over the weekend, which was amazing, but it was an older movie with Salma Hayek. It was amazing, real good. But and it was a true story, and you know I love that. But yeah, this week going to see Steven Spielberg's new movie with Tom Hanks, Band of Spies.
Oh, yeah, that'll be good.
Yes.
This Friday, I'm going to see Corey Smith downtown Charleston. So next week's song is going to be a Corey Smith song.
Awesome.
I can't.
Well, yeah. So I'll give a little review on Band of Spies.
Cool.
And,
we'll talk about Corey Smith, and
yes.
we'll talk about that Boys in the Boat.
Boys in the Boat.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.